All right, so today's episode, we're going to introduce you our guest, Sami Blackett.
Hey, thanks for having me.
She currently is playing at Utah Valley University. She's a local hero, local legend in the volleyball community. She played at Orem High. A little bit about her as far as her stats from this year. She led the country as a freshman with 467 kills. Not a volleyball guy, but that is a lot of kills, which is super sick. One of her matches this year, she actually had 33 kills, which is a record here at UVU that she now holds. She was also the co-WAC Freshman of the Year, also the all-WAC freshman team, as well as the all-WAC team. So she does it all. So can't wait to dive into this episode. Can't wait to get to know her and talk about connections and how, where she started and where she's at now.
Okay, so I guess to start from the very beginning, I have two younger brothers, both play basketball. Both my parents played college sports, so just growing up, it was always about sports. I don't remember, the last time I wasn't involved in a sport, whether it was soccer, basketball, anything like that, and just, always competitive. So my mom played volleyball, so I always, had an eye for volleyball, but from the very beginning, it was kind of basketball. My dad loved that. And so when I told him I was done with basketball, he was like, come on, for real?
Yeah.
But
so you were a hooper first.
Yeah, I was a hooper first.
Okay.
I don't know if I would say good, but I was definitely a hooper first.
Definitely better than Brennan. Shout out Brennan Blackett.
Right.
That's my dog. That's her little brother I coach. She's definitely better than Brennan. But anyway,
Yeah,
okay. So
he
you were a
won't admit
hooper,
that, but
and then
yeah.
you said, hey, I'm going the volleyball route.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
kind of chose when I was in probably 7th or 8th grade. I still played a little bit of basketball, nothing serious, but when you pick volleyball, there's club and a high school season.
Right.
And so if I wanted to play high school basketball, I wouldn't be able to play club volleyball. And I was like, okay, no, I'll cut basketball. So I wasn't very good at first, at volleyball. I was always an athlete. I always grew up like that, but I was on it's called feeder league. So it's the same as bantam for volleyball, but I was on the B team, nothing crazy. And then it started to click when I became in 8th grade. Things just started to come a little bit easier to me. Club volleyball was the best. And then I go into my freshman year. It was super weird because Orem High, 9th grade, is still at the junior high.
Right.
So I was a freshman playing varsity, but still at junior high. So I was
Which
going
is
to
so
school.
crazy, right? You're going to junior high, but then playing with 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds that are I have a couple of freshmen on my sophomore team right now, and it is just so different.
Oh yeah.
Let alone varsity level.
No, seriously.
So,
I'm going to school with these 7th graders, but playing against these seniors almost going to college. It
Right.
was so weird, but I loved it. Had a good freshman year. Like I said, I started. We were not good though. At Orem, from the very beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, we're not good, but it is. I'm playing, whatever. And then played club that year. When you in volleyball, nothing really gets crazy in club until you're probably a sophomore. So that was chill year, fun with
so just
friends.
trying to kind of get into the flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so getting into it. And then my sophomore year of high school, I guess I'll leave kind of the details out, but halfway through the season, my coach got fired, got a new coach. That was just weird. We were all what the freak? And then ended up being another bumpy season. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, just get me to club.
Yeah.
So then that year of club was a big one because it's the year that going into your summer of your junior year is when you can start being recruited. And so I was putting all this pressure on myself, hearing it from everyone, you have to have a good club season, And I did, but obviously in the back of your head, it's always am I going to get recruited,
Yeah.
And so I had a good season. June 15th is the day that coaches can reach out to you. So that was a crazy day. Lots of coaches reaching out, lots of phone calls. My mind was just spinning, what the heck is going on? But it was really cool. And then for the next couple weeks, it was just constant phone calls, constant texting, all this stuff. But then you have to get right back in the high school season. And so that was really cool. That summer I was okay, we're going to be really bad at Orem. Is this something that I need to transfer? Is this something that high school season is going to affect how my recruiting goes?
Right.
But ultimately I was you know what? No, I'm going to stay at Orem. I'm going to make Orem good, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And high school volleyball doesn't like change recruiting that much. I think it's like very similar to like basketball in that way.
I
like
mean, and if you can play,
club, yeah,
you can play, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can go, you can go, which
Yeah.
is cool though, because like if you think about it, like a lot of people would be like, all right, my team sucks.
right.
It's not really a good optimal opportunity. I'm just gonna leave, which like at no fault, right? Like I get it. Like like
Yeah.
transfers, like I understand it. Sometimes it drives me nuts, just like
Yeah.
as either as a fan or as a coach. But like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But also as something about like doing it there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even if you like aren't great, but it's like man, like you stay and you kind of create this new culture. You know, it's kind
Yeah.
of cool. But
Yeah.
so that's
Oh,
big
for
time that
sure.
you stayed. So you stayed
Yeah,
at Orem
so I
regardless of this setup.
Yeah, and then so my junior year was actually like way better. We got a couple freshmen that were just like these like gritty, love to play. So
Nice.
it was a fun year. I want to say we ended up losing like second round of state, which for Orem that was like
I mean, big time.
dang, like big time. Like we made it to state. Like we played at UVU. Like that's where state is. We played at UVU. Good run for us.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, let's go into club. Like this club season, I kind of had to go off, and so it was all about recruiting and
And what club did you play for?
Club V.
Club V,
So
okay.
yeah, so I played for a couple different clubs, and then my junior year, I'm trying to think, from when I was 15 on, I played for Club V.
Okay.
So we go into that season, and like people kind of tiptoe around the fact of like how recruiting is. I
Yeah.
hated it.
Yeah.
Like it was the worst, and not because of like what people would think of like you're not getting talked to, not that, but
Right.
just like there's so many external factors that play a
Yes.
part in recruiting, and it's like actually the worst.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like getting down on myself, talking to my parents. They're like, it's gonna like whatever, like you're gonna go play Division I volleyball. Like matter of the fact is like that's gonna happen, but you just like who knows where
Yeah.
that point. So I was talking to a bunch of different schools, a lot of out of state, and I was like, do I want to leave? Do I want to
Right.
stay? Do I want to leave? Do I want to stay? And then ultimately, it got to like April. So like I said, I could start talking to people in June, and like I had a ton of teammates committing
Right.
July, August, like so quick, and I'm like, okay, like do I need to hurry this up? Like I
Yeah.
literally am nowhere near being committed. So come like March, April, I think of my junior year, I was like, all right, I'm sick of this. Like I'm committing somewhere. So I had a really, really good talk with UVU. I've known the coaches at UVU for a long time just
Yeah.
because of like I've had cousins play there. I've gone to camps, like that type of thing. One of the coaches has like coached in club for a long time. So I was like, you know what? Like I want to talk with them. I kind of like put them to the side a little bit for a
Yeah.
while. And then I was like, no, I want to talk with them. Like they're so close to home. Why not?
Super close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go have a really good talk with them, take my parents, and like going into the meeting, I was like fully like, okay, let's just see how this goes. Like whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens. And I commit. Like I'm in that meeting and I commit. And after I remember like FaceTiming some of my friends, my boyfriends, some family, and they're all like, oh my gosh, like you just committed?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You're like, it
Like,
worked
I don't
out.
know what happened. It worked out. It felt right in the moment. And ultimately it came down to being like close to home, having like, and it showed like my freshman year, I've had so many people there to support me. And
Yeah.
so, and a lot of people were surprised when I committed there. Cause like, I don't know if there's like this stigma around like mid-majors and
Right.
like how that
Definitely.
is, but I wasn't really like a lot of people care about like, oh, when I commit, I'm going to post this big time high major school. Like
Right.
I'll get the hype, I'll get the clout, but like, I didn't care about that.
Yeah.
I didn't care to post that I was going to this big school. And so that like didn't really get to my head. People are like, and at the time, this plays a part in it, but at the time UVU was Adidas, and people are like, you want to go Adidas? Like,
Yeah.
not
Hey,
Nike?
hey,
Like
low key that matters.
It
Like, hey,
does.
like as a hooper, like I don't know if I could wear like Hardens and stuff.
That's
You know
what
what I
I'm
mean? Like, so I
saying.
get that.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying.
I understand that. You know,
I
it's
know,
like,
and so I
are you
was like-
sure?
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Like, it is what it is. Like, I like the coaches, I like the school, I like the culture. So I decided to stay close. I didn't really care what people thought. People
Yeah.
had what they wanted to say, but they're always going to.
Right.
And I also knew I was gonna go in and play. Like, I had talked
Right.
to the coaches. Like, that was a big thing for me. Like, I'm the type of personality that like to go and sit the bench. Like, that's not how I work. Like,
Right.
I just like wouldn't be fun for me. So I knew what I was going into.
Yeah.
So, and then we go in my senior year. We actually dropped down to 4A, which, you know, for Orem, that was, that was good for us.
Big deal.
Big deal. my best friend, she transferred from Timpview to Orem.
Which is big time because that's a cross rivalry.
Right.
That's a big time rivalry.
She got so much hate for that.
I'm sure she did.
Faye was watching. But, and it was so much fun. Like, seriously, the best. We went into my senior year and we, like, did not lose very many games. We lost to a couple of 6A schools in preseason, and then we go into the state tournament and make a run, and we won state. And so
big time.
That was so much fun, especially doing it with, like, my best friend. That was so cool.
Right.
But a couple weeks later, got named Player of the Year. So that was cool. Just, like, going from literally being the worst team in the state to obviously not 6A, 5A, whatever, but, like, winning state. It was just a really cool accomplishment.
Winning state at any level is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like, people kind of, like, I loved what you said, you know, about, like, the cloud of everything, right? Like, I've had so many buddies that are like, you know, I got to go to this big school, and they go to the big school and they don't play a lot, or, you know, they go, but it's not what they thought, and then they end up transferring, and then everyone's like, oh, they went to a small school because they suck, and it's like, reality is, like, the fact that you are playing at a collegiate sport, whether it's JUCO, D1, any level, is big time, right? And I think, and it's the same thing with high school, right? It's like, I mean, you just look at, like, your path. It's like, you go from being, I'm a hooper, to, okay, I'm going to focus on volleyball, being on the B team, to then winning a state championship, and then committing to a D1 school. Like, that's big time. Like, you know, like, there's so many kids that are like, oh, I'm on the B team growing up, so, like, I suck. Yeah. Where, like, there's so many teams. Like, I tell this story all the time. I had a kid that I went to high school with. He was the man. He started varsity as a freshman. He, like, peaked, and everyone else passed him. Yeah. And then his senior year, it was not, you know, because he let that be the motivator, where, like, a lot of other kids were like, no, like, I don't care if I'm on the B team. Like, I'm just here to get better. And then as you stack days, like, that's what provides these opportunities. And it's like, it goes to show, like, in your career already that's why I think you're propelled even further, because, like, it wasn't always easy. You know what I mean? Which, that's big time. So, okay, so you go to your senior year, you win the title, you win Player of the Year, you're feeling good, you go to UVU. Yeah, so... How was that transition?
It was crazy, especially because I decided to graduate early. And so we won state in, like, October, and then 2 months later I was at UVU. And so, like, it was a really weird thing because you go, again, like I mentioned, like, when I was in junior high, you go from playing with these freshmen, 15-15-year-olds to girls that are in their 20s. And so, and even school, like,
school's a little different.
School's different. Like, it was really cool though. I ended up, like, living at home, so I didn't have to move out. I didn't have to do that big transition. But like, I remember it was like January 8th or something that school started, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're like, had a rude awakening. I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. Like, I was still 17, so I was like, this is weird, but it was really cool. And, like, first day you go into meetings with the team, and it's like, okay, we're talking business. Like, this is what we're doing. This is our goal. And, like, this is how we're going to do it. And so that was really cool. Obviously I went in and I was like, okay, should I, like, tone it down a little bit? Like, should I show my full personality? Cause I'm a big personality, and, like, everybody knows, like, I'm loud. I'm, like, obnoxious sometimes. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna tone it down a little bit for the first little bit, and that lasted about, like, 2 days.
You're like, I'm gonna sit back and watch. Yeah. It's like I tell the guys, I'm like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna practice today. And then, like, 10 minutes later, I'm like, getting my shoes on,
I'm
like,
shooting.
And I'm like, y'all, sorry, like, I gotta bring it to y'all. My bad.
No, seriously.
So no, I get that. That's I think that's, like, the funnest part about being a competitor, though. Yeah. Is, like, I think being unapologetically you. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes when you try to, like, cage yourself, or you try to, you know, hide kind of who you are, like, at the end of the day, like, UVU wanted you, like, they could get anyone that plays volleyball. Right. Like, anyone that plays volleyball, like, that's the whole point. Like, that's the sport, right? That's, like, that's the product, right? But it's, like, the real, like, reality is, like, they wanted you to be you. Right. And that's what they want, right? And so I think as you be you, it allows the team to become the team, because, like, they don't need you to be a fake version of you. They don't need you to be someone else. They need you to be Sami, and they need Jill to be Jill, whatever it is, right? And so I think that's where teams get good, and that's where you as an individual get more confident, because you're truly yourself, right? And so I'm glad it only lasted 2 days. I know. I'm glad you got right back into it.
It was a quick turnaround. But, and, like, something going along with that is, like, for me, growing up my whole life and, like, especially playing club, and girls' sports are different, but, like, I was always told I was mean and, like, too competitive. Like, the amount of coaches and, like, and no hate to these coaches because they made me a better person, but, like, I was told I was too mean. I was, like, too competitive. I'm like, I didn't know that was really a thing. I didn't know that being too competitive was a thing, and my parents were always like, okay, obviously respect your coaches, but, like, don't change who you are.
Right.
And, like, I'm so thankful for that now, because when you get to the D1 level, it's like everyone is the same.
100%.
Everyone is too competitive. Everyone can be mean at times. And so, like, when I was in club, I was struggling with that. Like, we would literally have meetings on some of my club teams about me and, like, how I was too mean.
They're, like, going around the bush.
Yes.
They're like, guys, we really need to, you know, be good teammates.
Yes.
And make sure, you know, like, we you know, don't take it too serious.
Yes. You were joking about that, but that's literally what it was.
No, trust me. I've been in those. I've been on those as a coach and as a player, and so I think there's definitely like something that I've learned, right? Because I'm competitive. Like my sophomore guys probably get so pissed because they're like, like Coach Ben's like yelling. I got my first technical in my life last week, which is crazy because, like, I talk a lot. So the fact that I got a tech now was impressive. But, like, it's so interesting because it's like, man, like, I just want to win. Like, I just whatever I do, and it's not even just about the basketball game. It's like, man, like when I play card games at the house, I want to win. Right. When I, like, go to the grocery store and I'm, like, racing my buddies, like, I'm racing you to the car. Like, I want to just win at everything I do because, like, in my heart, like, I'm like, if I'm not going to go 100%, why am I doing it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think, like, that's where the difference of kind of like a career or a hobby changes, right? Like, because there's people that enjoy basketball or enjoy volleyball or enjoy things, and you can enjoy those things, but there's different levels to making it a career, right? Like, to be at the collegiate level, like, people think it's like just this fun game. You just roll out and you go play Division I. That's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, you are there all the time. You're practicing, you're training, you're lifting.
Right.
You're doing body stuff where you're like, okay, you got to make sure you're eating right. Like, you literally have to kind of change your whole dynamic. So why would you not go 100%?
Yeah, that's what
you know what I
saying.
mean? It's like, okay, hey, change your whole life, do all this dedication to it, but hey, don't care too much.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no logical sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get the coaches young, you know, especially like those younger coaches, like in club where they're like just trying to, like, because there are definitely kids that are probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like, that's why there's levels to clubs.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's tough. But I'm glad that didn't sway your dynamic.
I know. And that was just, like, always my biggest thing and, like, my parents' biggest thing. Even people who are close to me, they were just like, don't change. Like, obviously, don't be a mean person, which I never was. And, like, that was the hardest thing for me is, like, people were like, you're mean. I'm like, no, I'm competitive on the court, and then off the court, like, let's have a conversation and, like,
let's hang
trust
out.
me, you won't say I'm mean. But, like, and so that was a hard balance for me. But when I got to UVU, I remember the first, like, couple of days I had a meeting with, like, all the coaches, and even when they were recruiting me, just saying, like, hey, we want you to be exactly, like, who you are, not to change, not to, like, tone it down even a little bit, because, like I said, one of the coaches that had coached in club for a while, like, he knew how I was, and he knew I was that big personality, and they wanted that from me. And so that was just huge for me, because there were coaches that had told me my whole life to be a different person, and then I get there and they just, like, want that. So that was just, like, really cool for me.
Absolutely.
And like you said, like, to know that they, like, wanted me in that way. And that was a game changer.
So back to you get 33 kills in one match. How does that even freaking happen?
Yeah. You know, you go into games, like, having feelings like, oh, like, this is going to be a good game. And I kind of had that, but, like, never would I, like, have expected 33 kills. So we're playing a team, and, like, the background behind it is, like, we're playing a team we lost to earlier in the season.
Okay,
like,
so a little revenge tour.
Yeah, not a great loss for us. Like, we were not supposed to lose that game. And so, like, I was going into it like, heck no. Like, we are not losing this game. Like, could be a sweep. Like, we should, like, clean 3 sets, like, get it done. So we go into this game, and, like, very first set, I think I had, like, 8. And I was like, okay, that's a good start. Like, whatever. And this game ended up going to 5. So, like, long game.
So you're already, like, I mean, you're already kind of cooking, but it goes to 5 sets, right? That's what they call it?
Yeah, 5 sets.
Look at me. I'm a big volleyball guy. Big volleyball guy. So 5 sets, you're dominating so far. You already feel good, and you're playing good.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on?
Yeah, so before this game, my career high was like 22 or 23.
Still nasty.
Right. And so I was like, okay, I have to be close. Like, I wasn't keeping track in my head. In UVU, we don't have like stats up. Like, so I can't see how many kills I have. So I'm like, and I'm not really like worried about it. I'm like, we need to beat this freaking team.
You just want to win.
Right. And so we go into the fourth set. I'm like, I have to be a little bit. I'm like, I'm thinking like 25. I'm like, I'm at 25. So I look over in between like one of the points, and our manager is like, you're one away. And I was like, oh, I'm one away from like my career high. Okay, like let me get this.
Yeah.
And then like after the game, I'm like realized he said to me, I'm one away from like breaking a school record. Like I didn't know he had said that to me. I didn't know that was like what he meant. I thought he was like, get another one, you'll be at 24 or something like that. So I was like, okay. And then we win this game. It was like, it goes to 5. Like I said, we win this game. I have no idea how many kills I have. Like, I'm just happy we just
you just won. You got the revenge. Like, you're good.
But I'm like,
think you beat your record.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. And I just set a career high. So I'm feeling great. And then my coach comes up to me and he's like, hey, like, ESPN Plus wants to interview you, like, player of the game. I was like, oh, okay. Like, cool. Like probably because I got my career high. So I go up there and they're like, so Sammy, like, how do you feel about setting a school record? And I was like, what? Like, I was like, what are you, like, okay, like, this was before the cameras are rolling. I'm like, I said it, like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, you set a school record, so they're going to ask you about that in your interview. I was like, oh, okay. So he asked me about it. I'm like, well, I was just told, like, I had no idea in the game that, like, that's what was going on. So he's like, yeah, you had 33 kills. The previous record was, like, 29, I think, or something like that.
Dang.
And so I was like, wow, like, I literally had no idea. At that point, I'm like, oh, like, okay, like, feeling a lot better.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So I finished the interview. We kind of just talked about it. I, like, started walking over to the locker room. Of course, my mom, she, like, comes running up to me. She's like, give me a hug. I'm like, girl, I got to go to the locker room really quick.
Your mom's so funny.
She's so funny.
She's a legend.
She's the best. But so I give her a hug, run back to the locker room, run in the locker room. Everyone's, like, cheering, like, whatever. Yeah. It was cool. So... And then after the game, like, that day was just, like, it was a cool day.
You're just
I'm like, nothing could
clouds.
ruin today. Like, it was so cool. And then they, like, post about it on Instagram. Everybody's, like, hyping me up. So that was cool. But, yeah, I definitely didn't think I would get to 33 kills in one game. That's for sure. And as a freshman.
What an experience. Like, you have no idea. Right. Like, I mean, obviously, like, you know, like, obviously you kind of know, right? Like, there's games that, like, I scored a lot of points, and I was like, I'm definitely cooking.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of points. I don't know where.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you definitely feel that. But, like, how cool to, like, not even realize or know, but then look back on it and be like, dang, I just did that. Like, I'm part of history.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of if, you know, I feel like that's kind of going to be a hard one to beat. Yeah. I hope you beat it, because I think that'd be badass.
Me too.
But, like, I think, like you're officially, like you cemented yourself, you know, in history. And not only was it like you got 33 and you lost, you got 33 and you won.
Right.
So it's even better.
Right.
I mean, then obviously, so that game helps you. You have a lot of other games with 20 plus kills. You end with 467 kills. Yeah. Like, that's freaking crazy.
Right.
So, like, what are your, I guess, goals and plans for next year? Because, like, I mean, you know, you dominate your freshman year. Now you got a whole nother year to just go back into it. And, you know, what's kept you motivated to, obviously we know you're a competitor and things like that, but, like, what's been, you know, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, cool, like, I'm set. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
So it's like, what makes you, you know, stay locked in on that thing to make sure you're like, nah, like, I'm not done.
Yeah. Well, I think my biggest thing is, like, I want to go into this next season proving to people that, like, it wasn't a fluke. Like, okay. Like, you hear about people that, like, have a good freshman year and then, like, what do they call it? Like, sophomore slump or something like that. Like, I don't want to have that. And that's, like, not – and, like, people can say, like, oh, she had a good freshman year, like, whatever. Like,
yeah, we'll see if she can do it again.
We'll see if she can do it again. And, like, that's what, like, my goal is. Like, I want to do it again. And who knows, like, yeah, maybe I can set records. Maybe I can lead the nation again. But, like, not – like, the numbers aren't really my goal as much as, like, just showing that, like – I can do that every single time. Like,
like, you are who you are. Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is super cool. I mean, that was kind of like a test as far as, like, where your mind was, and so you passed. You know, there's a lot of people that be like, yeah, like, I got to go get 40 kills now.
Right.
Or whatever. I mean, I don't even know if that's, like, a realistic goal. But, like, you're sitting here being like, yeah, that's cool, like that was dope, but like I just want to be like a better player next year, like,
Yeah.
and it just goes to kind of show like just who you are, and like obviously I've got to know your family, and obviously I coach B and stuff, and so like I just think like something that's super cool about you that a lot of people might not see as far as like they see the statistics and they see the stats of you dominating, but I think just like who Sami is as a human being is a lot more valuable than 33 kills or 467 kills, which like again those are big time numbers. That's awesome, but like at the end of the day you just want to win. You want to bring like a culture of like I'm gonna compete, and like that's the type of person you want to go to war with. You know what I mean? Like as a teammate, I'd be like, yeah, like I'm good. I know where she's at.
Yeah.
Because like nothing's more frustrating when you're out there and you're giving it your all, and you're like, I have no idea what my teammate's thinking about.
Right.
He could be thinking about his points or XYZ.
Yeah.
But like knowing that you have a teammate like that who's had a wonderful year, a career year, and still hungry.
Yeah.
To not only get good numbers, but to be a great teammate and to continue to win.
Yeah.
So UVU, like y'all got a great teammate. So make sure you show appreciation to Sami, and make sure you're going to UVU games, because like I think that's a big thing that women's sports unfortunately gets kind of like down. Like I'm like man, like there's some really good sports that like with women's sports that it's not appreciated because it's not a guy sport. Like I've seen, I won't say schools' names, but I've seen dude sports that are not good and they like have a sellout crowd consistently, even when they're not good. But like a girls' team that's dominating, like or whatever, they're like, it's just a girl sport, And so that's just super lame. So make sure you guys are going to the UVU volleyball games. Make sure you're tapping in to watch Sami, because you won't regret it.
Yeah. And I think, like, one thing going along with that is, like, going into my freshman year, I didn't have these goals of, like, I'm going to break the school record.
Right. You just want to play.
Right. I just wanted to play. And, like, even though, like I said earlier, like, I knew I was going to have the opportunity to play as a freshman, but I still had to, like, get to that point. Like, I still had to go in and work. So it's not like I was, like, going into the season, like, I'm going to lead the nation as freshman in kills. Like, I didn't even know that until our last couple of games. Like, it was another one of those things. Like, I wasn't checking up constantly until, like, one day my dad was, like, looking at stats and was like, you're gonna like lead the nation. Like,
he's like, look where your stats are.
Yeah, you're like top 25 overall. Like, this is what it is. So like going into my last game, I knew the number I needed to hit to lead the nation. And I was like, freak, I can't let this get to my head. Like I gotta go play, and I got it. But it was like it's one of those things like you can't think about it too much, otherwise it's not gonna happen. Right. And so like I can't go into this next season being like, okay, well I'm gonna have 468 kills this year. Like that's just not.
And I think too, like when you put your focus on that, like there's so many other valuable things that you can offer to a team besides kills. Like even if you don't have as many kills this next year, but you're a good leader, you show up every day at practice and you're about it, and you literally mentor, everyone around you. Because obviously when you have a career season like that, a lot of people are naturally going to look to you, even if like, and I think that's what's the blessing and a curse of being a leader. Yeah, is like you never want to like. Whether you want to be an example or not, like, you just always got to do the consistent things because, like, people are always watching. Yeah. People are always watching how you operate, what you do. And so I think, like, as you prepare for this season and you bring that mindset of, like, dude, like, I'm just here to win. Yeah. Like, that's what I care about. And, like, if I get those stats, cool. Yeah. But, like, for me, like, it's just what I'm doing every single day. And I think that's how you become that level, because when you're when you're sitting there and focusing on like I gotta get 20 points a game. Yeah. Well, when you don't have 20, then you think you suck. Yeah. And you think you don't do anything else for the team, and it's like that's like the complete opposite. Like you can still add value to the games, even when you don't have those stats. Of course, you want to have goals and things that you want to accomplish, but I think as you focus on kind of everything else, your goals kind of naturally happen.
Obviously, connections are huge, especially when it comes to like sports. Right. Like. It seems like it's like a big, like it's a small world, like compared to like what people actually think. And so like you have connections with coaches and recruiting, you have connections with like just like family and people that And so like just keeping like strong relationships, I think, because like you kind of can take them for granted. Like you never understand like, oh, like this person like can help me, or like they can give me advice and that type of thing. And so I've had to learn that because I've kind of been someone like, oh no, like I'll do it on my own. Like I got this. Up until like I got to college, I'm like, oh, okay, like it's good to have people around you to like help you.
Yeah.
And like keeping those connections. And so I think it's big in sports too, because obviously it's crazy with like NIL and like all those things, like brand deals, like things like are changing the game, which like some people say it's unfortunate and like some would say it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But like, and so to have connections is huge, and like it's becoming a bigger thing, which is cool. People are going to have to learn how to be better at it, including myself, but I think it's just an opportunity, and just like all college athletes should make connections because it will help them in the long run.
And I think like you just never know like different connections that you know might run across, right? Like like people that I've connected with, like different, kind of why I started the whole podcast, which later on I'm going to do a solo episode and I'll drop it shortly. But like, what kind of made me start doing this is like, man, you never know who you're connected to or who you might know, as far as what they can do. I mean, so I coach B.
Yeah.
We meet, we start talking about like volleyball, and then I was like, oh, you need like, let's get you a hat deal. So we get you tapped in with Lodge 33. Right. We had no, like, I mean, you were at how many games before we even said a word, you know what I mean? And then now it's like, there's all these other opportunities, and it's like, man, you just never know. And like what you said, you take for granted, like, you never know who can help you later on in like your life. And it's not that like, oh my gosh, I need help, but it's like, how cool is it to have like just resources, right? And I think that's where the approach is kind of like, man, if you utilize your resources, and a lot of good things will happen. You know what I mean? The last question we have for you today is, what just advice for like a young volleyball player that's, maybe on the B team, that's, she sees her friends on the A team, because it's brutal world right now. Like, it's like, oh, I start varsity, so like I don't need to talk to you or whatever it is, right? And it's kind of a brutal world that we live in. What advice would you give to someone to kind of like keep going? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just, I mean, like you said it yourself, keep going. Like, as much as I hate to say it, there's always going to be politics involved. And so if you just keep like stay true to yourself and trust like in your ability and trust in who you are, you're going to be fine. Like, there might be better volleyball players, there might be better athletes, but one thing that I've really learned is that like coaches go for personality too. And so like, be a good team player, be a good leader, always work hard, like have a good work ethic, and that will take you a long way. Because there have been countless like teammates and like people that I've like met, and even in my own life and in my siblings' life and that type of thing, that like, yeah, they might not be the greatest volleyball player, they might not be the greatest basketball player, but they can change a team by just who they are, by the work ethic that they have. So that would just be my biggest thing, is like, don't stop working hard, don't stop listening to your coach. Like, all those things play a big part, especially like when you get to a higher level. Like, you think that people go to college all for ability, and yeah, that's a huge part of it, but also like, you have to be able to like have a good mindset, have a college athlete mindset, and not all people have that. And so just, I think, staying true to yourself and not changing for other people too, because I learned that. And so I would just say, always work hard and always be a leader. But
I love it. I love it. And I mean, you hit it perfectly. I think as you do those things, it's kind of been the common theme. It's just like, as you do those things and you stay to the course, like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, imagine, if you did transfer from Orem, would your friend have transferred? Would you guys have gone to 4A? Would you have won the title? I don't know. No one knows, right? What if you don't go to UVU? What if you go and chase a bigger school? Would you, I think as a competitor, naturally, just because you want to believe in yourself, and so you would be like, of course I got to have a great year. But it's like, your path sometimes is led and guided in ways that you might not even understand yet. But like, once you're on that path, you do start understanding it. And I think like, I'm super excited to watch kind of what you continue to do throughout your career and continue to do, outside of volleyball, but also on the volleyball court. Can't wait to pull up to a game. It's going to be dope. Make sure you guys are all following Sami on Instagram. Stay in touch as far as stay updated on her stats and what's going on there. Again, Sami, appreciate you coming on. Always appreciate you talking. So can't wait to watch you do your thing next year. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, y'all. Again, shout out our sponsors. Appreciate Lodge 33, Dunk Cookies, Noble Locksmith, and Mosita Market. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Tap in for next week's episode.